listening to the Maddox podcast, hosted by the Maddox Real Estate Team, Jason Maddox, Jamie Abitia, and Katrina Pryor, presented by Painless Podcast. To learn more about our services, check out our website at maddoxrealestate.com.
It may seem like forever ago, but it's been just 8 months since life in the COVID-19 pandemic began. While it might be crazy to think about, it will end soon, hopefully. Today, we're tired of COVID just like everyone else, but there is a light at the end of the tunnel. Today, we're going to talk about what it's like being a real estate agent in the market, what it's like for buyers and sellers, and our experience in the market, what lessons we've learned during the shutdown, and what will carry through post-COVID world. We're going to discuss that and more in today's episode.
Before we get started, I'd like to introduce Robert Ring, who will be giving us a quick rundown of what the market is doing this week. This is Market in a Minute.
There are some exciting things happening right now in the mortgage world. Let's start with the first one, which is rates continue to come down, which is really exciting. This helps a lot of people. If you own a home, you know that this helps bring down your payment and save money overall on the cost of owning your mortgage. And additionally, if you're buying a home, this increases your affordability. So now you can buy perhaps at a higher purchase price. And leading into that, we just received another exciting announcement, and that is starting in January, loan limits will increase. And what this means is that you can buy at a higher purchase price with a low amount of money down out of your pocket. In certain areas, that is as high as $852,000 with just 3.5% down. In other areas, it can be $565,000 with just 3% down. It varies by county. Some areas are considered high balance counties, some low balance, but the bottom line is affordability is increasing through lower interest rates and higher lending limits. And that's good for everybody. Thanks for listening.
So the highlight wine that we're highlighting today is The Prisoner. Now, this is one of Jason's favorite wines. I've never been invited to the winery, so I don't have the winery experience, but
we're going to get you there.
We'll go.
We're drinking
Field
it right
trip.
now.
Field trip.
And it's delicious. So tell us a little bit.
So this is the 2019 Prisoner. It's called The Prisoner, and it's fantastic. I love blends, and this is a blend. Unfortunately, I'm not super versed in the wine, so I don't know like what it's a blend really of. I just know I love it.
He knows it's red.
I know it's red. And the winery is actually super cool too. I mean, we've gone there for Jamie's birthday. Mm-hmm. The experience is a lot of fun. Now they're doing outdoor stuff, so you can't even go. You probably go inside and into the courtyard area.
It's different. It's definitely different. Like when we went and did the Maker's Experience, which involved lunch, and then you do a tour of the winery. So everything's a little bit different. But
we met the winemaker.
We met the winemaker, Chrissy Whitman. But I think everything's a little bit different now, but everywhere is a little bit different. Everybody's adapting to COVID, and which I think is great. When we went there this past time, I got to actually go there with a friend for a friend's birthday, and, masks, everything's outside, but the nice thing is they actually served us pizza after, which was new. And it was the most incredible pizza I've ever had in my entire life.
They have some amazing chefs there.
And I think that's kind of in lieu of, being able to go in and do the experience with the food and all of the full tasting inside like you would. They try to adapt. Well,
and the Prisoner Wine Company has a pretty cool story. And the winery was owned prior. It was called, what was it? The Franciscan?
The Franciscan.
Franciscan.
And it was bought out by Constellation.
Constellation, yeah. So, but there's a really rich and cool story about the Prisoner. So I said,
we're busy, folks.
I haven't
getting calls,
from clients.
That's why I said, silence your phones, kids.
I didn't touch that. Everybody saw that. I didn't touch anything.
Anyway, no, sorry. But the Prisoner, it's got a really rich history and really, really cool story, and it's very artsy. And there's a lot that when we went the first time, Sarah, and she's not Sarah Schmidt. Okay. She is not there anymore, unfortunately. She's one of our favorites. She told us this whole story about the wine company and
she was just
the art.
Passionate about it.
So passionate, and we love that. And so we're gonna bring somebody on from the Prisoner Wine Company and have them talk about it, because it's there's just too much to talk about that I don't know enough about.
But it's a great experience. They have a tasting lounge. They have virtual experience.
It's a great experience.
Right?
It's definitely different than, I would say, a lot of the other wineries, only because it gets a lot of flack for being a little bit too corporate now.
Yeah.
Constellation owns Corona, so it definitely is a different spin. It's very modern, whereas a lot of these wineries are very old school, family owned, mom and pop, and this is a totally different experience, but I enjoy it just as much as any other winery.
But the wine is super good. I mean, we don't have the expertise, right?
No.
We're not sommeliers by any means.
No.
But we know good wine just by tasting it, what it would go with. And this one's really delicious. So how much is a bottle of this? And where can you get it?
So we're members and we get it every
quarter?
This one's every quarter. Yeah, we get like 12 bottles. Yeah, I know. But we don't just get like 3 bottles of the Prisoner, and then we get some, other ones. We get some cabs and things like that. But this particular one, I don't know.
Sure.
I'm not sure.
No, I actually
$35-$40.
So most wineries, you can only buy their wine at the winery, right? Like Visa Tui, you have to go to Visa Tui to buy it. The Prisoner, I know that at least this specific bottle or this blend, they do sell at Bevmo, because I've bought it before, and I believe. If I'm not incorrect, I believe it's around $40 to $50 for a bottle. So it's definitely one of your more expensive bottles. Yeah. It's not, a $10, $15 bottle, but it's
it's $40.
Oh, about $40. Okay.
Okay.
I think it's a really nice bottle when you're trying to go a little more high end, like if you're buying it for a client, and if they are familiar with the Prisoner Winery, it's nice to have something come from there without having to take the trip.
Right.
What's
cool about Bevmo is that I'm a huge Instacart fan, so I love everything being delivered to my door. And now Bevmo is in Instacart, so going on having my medication delivered is really nice. But I don't always have $40 for a bottle of wine. So we just opened a bottle of Ménage and it is so...
What do you call that? ASMR?
ASMR.
It's... Okay, listen.
She's going to eat a pickle next, guys.
Listen, kids. When Uncle Charlie's over for Thanksgiving and you don't want a $40 bottle of wine for Uncle Charlie, Ménage is the go-to. This one is a Cabernet. It's fruit forward. It's not too dry. It's like... I picked it up this morning at 10:30. Got a lot of interesting looks. But it's delicious.
At 10:30.
It's really good. So if you want to go to where you can just run into Lucky, get a nice bottle of wine that's not going to break the bank, this one's one of my faves. I'm one of the poors, so I need a very less expensive bottle of wine to enjoy.
If you're looking to be bougie on a budget, definitely go for Ménage à Trois because it will never fail. It's really hard to displease anybody with it. They also have a bunch of different types as well. So they have, Ménage à Trois Silk, Ménage à Trois Midnight, Ménage à Trois Decadence, I think is one of theirs.
Yeah, but
that
for $10, come on, this is great.
No, it's an incredible wine.
Yeah. Yeah, and if you're just getting started on wine and you're just kind of getting your feet wet trying to understand about it, this is just a nice blend.
You can find it anywhere. I went camping and I went to we went to Cassini Ranch and the marketplace there, all they had sodas for the kids, Ménage à Trois for the adults. It was awesome.
I want to say Trader Joe's has it.
Trader Joe's has it.
$7 or $8 as well. Yeah. It's even a little less expensive.
And it's fun if you're having a party. You don't have to, bust out the expensive wine. Just go and get a few bottles of this, and you're good.
Nobody will know the difference.
Exactly.
Seriously.
Yeah. So we're going to transition here a little bit because we are in real estate, and we want to talk about, while we're whining about the Bay, we also want to talk about what's going on in real estate right now with COVID. There's been a lot of changes. I remember flying into Seattle in February. And it was the first case of COVID in the United States. And it happened to be at the Seattle airport, like that person came through the Seattle airport. I didn't think much about it. My sister and I were kind of, joking a bit. And here we are, 8 to 9 months later, and it's just a huge pandemic. And it changes a lot, of course, in everybody's life at every level. But in real estate, my initial thought was, okay, so I'm going to get a break. There's going to be some downtime. I was a little nervous what the market was going to look like now that, more and more cases started picking up. And what I didn't realize is that the market is really stronger than ever. I've never been busier since February.
Yeah.
And I'm having that experience where people are, we're ready to get our house on the market. There's a lot of buyers out in the market right now. Some things have changed. We have to be much more protective about how we enter homes. We, pre-approvals are necessary, so we limit the amount of exposure, as folks are coming into other people's homes. But I want to hear about what your experience is as COVID has kind of changed the market, what your expectation was and where it is now.
Yeah, so I think that we've been on a roller coaster since kind of hearing the news start to break around February and then going into quarantining on around March.
We had a little dry spell there between like March and April, or April, May. We started picking up. That's when things started getting crazy.
So my personal experience, it was like night and day. I had a listing that went on the market. It was a condo in Hercules, and the first weekend of open houses, I could barely keep up with the amount of people in there. I was literally talking to everybody in groups of about 15 or 20. They'd come in, they'd cycle through, I'd give my spiel. They'd, see the place, leave, the next group would come in, and I was doing that for the whole 3 or 4 hours that I was there, just talking and talking and talking. That week, the news about COVID broke and how we need to start washing our hands more, and masks weren't even a thing yet. Nobody was even wearing masks, but we need to start washing our hands more and, try to stay in, try not to go out. The next weekend, the second weekend of open houses, I had nobody through there. Very, very few people. And I remember that second weekend, my natural instinct is to go and shake somebody's hand when I meet them. And the guy pulled away from me. I was like, we can't do that anymore. Yeah. And it was like, that was the turning point for me where I was like, wow, this is different. This world is very different. Within 1 week, everything has changed. And then I think we experienced, a little more of that for a while. For the first month, we were, shortly after we were told to quarantine. And for that first month, everybody was staying in and working from home or not working at all at that time and adapting. And I think we definitely saw a big slowdown, right? We weren't sure what was going to happen. Buyers were taking a break. Sellers were not putting anything on the market, and saw a really big slowdown. And then like night and day, somebody flipped a switch and everything changed overnight. I mean, in the beginning, they were telling us you could get fined if you're showing houses, right? You could literally not show houses.
It was like a $10,000 fine for like showing houses without a mask or something, or just showing a house, period.
If it was owner occupied.
Yeah, I mean, they just stopped us like right there.
So we weren't supposed to be even showing houses. And then, these rules started unfolding. And every week we had a new form, a different form, and the verbiage was different. And I think we were all trying to adapt, but we did what we do best. And we did adapt. And then we instilled these new practices. And, you have to wear a mask, you have to sanitize, wear booties, wear gloves, whatever it may be. And just like that, things went back to kind of a new normal. And I think they took off. I mean, you guys can attest to that. The market absolutely took off, which for the state of the world and how bad a lot of people were doing, for the market to do so well was kind of incredible to see.
It was crazy. Yeah. And I got a call from a client that worked at Facebook, and he said, well, we're going to be home until at least December. And then I got a call a week later, and he said, we're going to be home indefinitely. I mean, they said we can work from home now. Now I need a bigger house, and I don't have to be right in Berkeley. I can go out a little bit further and get a bigger house because I need an extra room for an office to work from. So that's kind of what's happening too. Like, people just started spending more money getting bigger homes so that they could work from home, and they're saving money in the commute, obviously. So they were able to put it into the home. But yeah, I mean, that was one of the big things for me, which was kind of strange. It's like, we're going to work from home. And now it's just the normal. Now people, we're working from home, and it's not a big deal.
And I think that's one thing that we are kind of blessed in this industry is we can pretty much work wherever, right? Like, we're always on our phone. Even if we're not at the office, we're still working when we're out showing properties. We're still checking emails or still on our, doing whatever. But, we can work from home, but I think that is going to be the new norm. And I think what's funny is that we've seen a rise in the market on our side, right? The East Bay, we're in Pinole, Hercules, these surrounding areas, we've seen a rise. But I believe San Francisco is actually seeing a lot of price reductions because everybody is doing this mass exodus from the city and coming to where they can sell their $1 million shoebox and get a full, 3-bedroom, 4-bedroom home for $800,000.
Right.
and live large over here and still be commutable, because I think a lot of people are either not going back to the office, like you said, they're going to be working from home on a more permanent basis, or even if they have to commute 1 or 2 days out of the week once things start to go back, then it's a lot more manageable.
Yeah, I have a lot of clients right now that are really surprised at how competitive the market is. I put an offer in on a home, and the listing agent, I felt like, okay, they're going to have quite a few offers. They had over 15 on one property in about a week to a week and a half. Mm-hmm. And so I think that, there's a bit of low inventory potentially, a lot of buyers out in the market. So it's still a very strong market, to say the least. We just kind of, we adapt to it. We're here to serve our clients, and, if they need to sell, they need to buy, we're here for them. But a lot of people are concerned. What's the market going to do? How is it going to change? And it's never been a stronger market, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And I think that there's always going to be ebbs and flows. So as we're thinking about how this is going to look, let's say next year, we don't know what the market is going to do. Right now, we just kind of have this trajectory that we're on, continues to kind of, incline a bit. Mm-hmm. But what do you guys think about, let's say next year? Hopefully, fingers crossed, we'll have this vaccination. I think they're expecting maybe everybody to have access maybe by summer. Do you think that this trajectory of where the market's going is going to continue its incline?
Well, what we do know is that on the federal level, the rates are going to be low or stay down until 2023.
That's what they're saying.
That's what the feds are saying. We can always go with that information. We know that information is going to stick. But it's tough to tell what's going to happen. Back when I was doing a Zoom mastermind thing, I don't remember back in March or April or something, and they were like, "What do you think is going on with the market?" And I said, "Well, I think what's happening right now is everything's slowed down, and I think we're moving kind of our historically speaking, we're moving into a different market. So I think now our summer market is actually our spring market, and so we're kind of and that's what happened. I mean, the market literally picked back up, and our summer, which is typically slow, right? You never want to list in June or July, and kind of pick back up in August, and it's not as busy. It was insane. So we sort of missed those 3 months in spring, and now we're moving to, and then now, with the election, things it really slowed down for I felt for a week or two. And then now, like you're saying, everything's just literally overnight starting to pick back up.
Yeah.
So,
it's so unpredictable.
It's unpredictable. And I think, it's really tough to say what's going to happen next year, but I think people still need to buy homes with offices and work from home and things like that. So, I really don't. Yeah. I don't foresee it slowing down like people think it's going to crash. I don't think so. It's definitely not going to crash like it did before, because things are a lot tighter now.
I think it's hard to say, and we kind of always say, if anybody tells you they can predict the market, they're lying. You can't predict the market, and I think there's too many factors right now to consider. We are probably entering into a new presidency, and who knows how that could change things. There was a slight lull for about 2 weeks, like you said, right before and after the election, kind of figuring out what's going to happen, what is happening. We're still not really sure. So there was a little bit of a slowdown. Weather got bad for a minute there, and then now the sun's shining, and it seems like things are picking back up. There's still a lack of inventory. I always feel that during the holiday season, like we're approaching, it really narrows it down to the serious buyers and sellers. So there will always be somebody who needs to sell a home. There'll always be somebody who needs to buy a home, especially right now with interest rates at historic lows.
Okay, so when I bought my condo a gazillion years ago, it was like 6.5%. That was the average. And it's to know that it's under 3.
About 2.875 is the current rate right now for a 30-year
That's just
mortgage.
Keeping the market going at these low. It's the cheapest it's ever been to borrow money right now.
And prices are definitely rising, but you get a little bit more bang for your buck because you're saving in interest. So it's really insane. And then we have a lot of city buyers going back to the city doing these price reductions. I think we're seeing a lot of San Francisco people where their money translates to a lot more over here. Mm-hmm. So they're coming in and, they might have the cash from selling a home in the city saying, I don't have to live here anymore. I don't have to commute. The city's not the best place to live if you don't want to sit in traffic every day. And it's kind of, dirty and going downhill. So I think a lot of families are coming over here to start their families, to raise their families. and are realizing I'm just a hop, skip, and a jump away when I need to be, but I don't necessarily need to live in the thick of it, in the hustle and bustle. So yeah, they're coming out here, and I'm seeing on nearly every property lately that buyers have been putting offers in on, or even on the listing side, people removing their appraisal contingency, which means they don't even care what the market value is for the home. That literally shows that a house is worth what a buyer is willing to pay. They're just throwing numbers out there and saying, look, you're guaranteed you're going to get this. I want your house.
Yeah, it's definitely a strong market. There's a lot of activity. We're busier than ever. And so for anybody who's thinking, okay, well, maybe this isn't a good time to sell, or it's not a good time to buy, that the market is so active. And I see that there's a lot of things that we implemented within COVID that is going to continue. The 360 tours are phenomenal. We used to have
Bay Area virtual tours.
Yes, Bay Area virtual tours do an amazing job. Joey does an amazing job at capturing, really walking through a home. Back before COVID, we had the open houses, right? And you'd have 50 people come through at one time. Everybody's pushing their way through an entry or a hallway to try to see the home. Now you can virtually walk through the home. And if it interests you at that point, then you can see it in person. But to be able to walk through a home from your living room, I see this as just sticking. It's just a sticking point that's going to continue. I know I'm going to continue using it. I think buyers really find it value.
It has to be the new standard for everybody moving forward. No matter if there's a vaccine, if we are eventually able to gather and crowd around, I don't think anybody really needs to, because it does help with out-of-area clients that maybe, aren't sure if they want to travel just to see this one house. Well, hey, take a tour of it first. You also get to do a aerial view of the home, which you can't do in person. So you can see exactly how each room connects and what the layout is. It's the dollhouse. The dollhouse view where you can see into each room from overhead, which I think is very, very valuable. And just take a tour and see what the home is like before actually visiting it. There's even a feature, if you have the virtual headset tour, to put the VR goggles on and to do the walkthrough as if you're walking in through the room
and
yourself.
That'll get super popular, I think.
So
in
anybody,
time.
I mean, I don't know how many people have virtual headsets, but I think it's gonna Christmas gift, right? That'd be a great Christmas gift.
You can use your phone and then just pop it in.
So you can.
So
buy...
when you put on the goggles with the Matterport that you do, you can do the virtual tour that way.
Yeah, so you can.
I didn't even realize that, and I have a really nice Oculus that I bought.
Yeah, you can buy the goggles where you put your phone in, and then you can literally walk around the house and explore the house as if you're standing there. I mean, it's surreal, right? But
that's so cool.
That's
so it's going to stick. So what it has done is that agents need to bring their A game in terms of marketing.
1,000%.
People are less likely to want to walk through a home nowadays. They want to see it virtually, and by providing this, I know I'm going to continue to use it. So it's just an amazing feature that I think is just going to continue on. It's one of those changes that have implemented during COVID that is just going to continue moving forward.
Right.
So
Absolutely.
it's awesome.
Right.
What else, kids?
Where are we here?
I know. We're just kind of going off on our own here because I love it.
I know.
So, let's see.
Oh, by the way. Okay. So next, I know that we're, this is kind of new for us in the podcast and kind of getting out there in the community, but I want to get a huge shout out to one of our friends, Ray Canales.
Yeah.
Okay, so we discussed Riggers Loft at one or the first or second podcast, and so he has a connection there at Riggers Loft and R&B cellars, wine that they serve there, amazing. So I'm gonna say, Greg, I haven't even called you about this, darling, but I'm going to say that a future podcast, we need to get into Riggers.
Definitely.
That is such an extraordinary experience for Bay Area folks. And I think a lot of people don't know about Riggers, about R&B cellars.
Let's have Greg on.
The cider that they produce there.
Yeah.
It's really extraordinary. So I'm going to propose a field trip. The Maddox Real Estate field trip at Riggers Loft. We're going to loop in Greg and really try their cider, their wine, talk about what they offer there. They have live music. It's a phenomenal
Let's
place.
drink first and then do the podcast. It's going to be amazing.
Drink wine and write it off. I'm all about it.
Yeah.
Excellent. No, I'm great. So let's getting back into this. I know we touched a little bit about how it's a seller's market and a really easy time to be a seller, but how do you think that might change? And what would you say to buyers right now who are saying, well, I hear it's a seller's market. Is it really a good time to, purchase a home? Is it really worth it? I think you have, Jason, something really good that you usually say to buyers.
Well, if they're buying the property as an investment, well, obviously we have a different conversation, but I always tell them, it's always a good time to buy the home that you're going to live in, because that's your home. And, real estate isn't meant to be a stock market. It's long-term growth. It's long-term wealth. It's just, and I mean, you put a value on your home. You can't really do that, right? So instead of paying somebody else's mortgage, you're paying your own mortgage, whether the market changes or not. But, and you're going to live there. So people always talk about, I've got all this equity. Well, what are you going to do? You're going to sell? No. Well, then what does it matter? That's your home. So, again, if they were an investor looking to get out in 5 years or 10 years or whatever, then that's a little different conversation, depending on the money they're putting down and things like that, seeing how their money can work for them. But as a homeowner, I mean, it's always a good time. It's always a good time. As long as you can afford it, at the end of the day, it's always a good time.
That's one of the concerns that I have from every buyer, every single one, is I'm scared what the market's going to do. Maybe it's not the right time to buy. And I don't know if I've already shared the story. Edit it if I have. But I will never forget sitting at Starbucks right here in Hercules with a client. We were about 5 days away from closing. Everything, contingencies removed, the deposit was in, and we literally had face-to-face, I don't think I'm ready to do this. I am scared what the market is going to do. I'd rather lose my deposit than move forward on a house.
Oh my goodness. I don't know if I remember this story.
Oh my God.
Wow.
And I knew that this was the home that the family loved. And I'm always there to, I'm there to be a support. I'm not there to tell anybody what they should or shouldn't do. I'm just here to hear you out. Here's my experience. I let him know this is a concern that every buyer has. From my current clients that just wrote an offer yesterday to from 3 years ago, this gentleman that I sat at Starbucks with, who said, I think we're going to pull the contract. They decided not to pull after the conversation.
Okay, good.
He went through with it. I think it was 3 or 4 years ago. I think Trump was coming in or just came in, and there was complications. He felt like the market was just going to tank. It was a bad time. And I completely understand, fast forward 3 years later, he has over $100,000 worth of equity in the home. He's called me back to say, I am so glad that I moved forward on this property. And so I share that story with new clients because it was he was willing to lose probably $30,000+ on the deposit because he was so scared to move forward. This is a fear that every buyer has. I would have it too, because it's just the market is unpredictable, and everybody goes back to the 10, 12 years ago when the market crashed, but lending was crazy then. Lending did not have the same parameters that it does now. So it's one of the things that I share with buyers.
And, this isn't just going out and buying a car, right? A car is a big purchase too, but this is quite literally probably the biggest purchase you'll ever make in your life. And it's a big deal. So to have some reservations or to be a little, nervous is very natural. But what I always tell my clients is, it's always the right time if it's the right time for you, if this is the right move for you, as long as you can make your house payment, you're not putting yourself in a position to where, if something happens, you're really hurting here, then it's going to be a good time. You're in the Bay Area, right? The Bay Area is a world of its own. The market will always bounce back. Look how far we've come from 10 years ago. We are stronger, at least where we were, if not stronger now than we were 10 years ago, which if this is your forever home, you have the luxury of writing out the ebbs and flows of the market as long as you can make your payment. And if the market, or if rates go down again, refi. So I think it's always a good time if it's a good time for you. Again, investors, people that are looking for short term, maybe a stepping stone, we might have a different strategy. We might not be removing appraisal contingencies. We might be a little bit more conservative with our offers and just looking at different properties. But I think it's always a good time, no matter which side you're on, buyer or seller.
Yeah. No, that's fantastic advice. All right. So what do we want to do?
I'm just going to go ahead and
I'm going to take a sip of wine and let's see what
Jamie
happens.
decides what to talk
Jamie
about.
decides. I don't know. I think that we've done what we do as humans, what we do best, and we adapt to these changes and we kind of move forward, right? So will we be wearing masks for a long time? Well, if everybody can get on the same page and just do it now, I'm hoping that that might stay for a while. It's better to be overcautious than, underprepared like we have been in this world. And with numbers back on the rise, I think it's important to keep these practices in place for, even after there's a vaccine. Who knows how long it's going to take for everybody to have access to that. It could come out into the spring, but the first people that are going to get it are doctors, front of the line workers, elderly, things like that. So I think we just need to continue to be cautious. I think it's very important that if you are a buyer in this market, there's no longer, kind of to put it softly, there's really no longer the market for looky-loos. You have to be a qualified buyer. You have to get prepared. A pre-approval, and you have to be prepared and ready to play, because you have to realize that you're putting exposure, or you're exposing sellers. You're going into somebody else's home and walking through their space, touching their items and putting them at risk. And if you're just looking, it's not maybe something that you want to do. So I think, that's how things have changed too. We're looking for qualified buyers, which not hard. It's a couple days. You can talk to a lender, get qualified, get your things in, get a pre-approval, and then we're ready to rock and roll.
Yeah, in fact, I've seen more and more on homes that you have to send the pre-approval before you even go and visit the property.
Yeah, especially with owner-occupied.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's one of the things that has also changed, is before you could walk through homes. Yeah. You could, take a weekend out and see every open house on the market and walk through. Now it's not like that. Now it's very much geared now to, are you a serious buyer? Do you have your pre-approval? We do not want you in our home unless you're qualified to buy it. And it does put a bit of strain on us with our clients, because there's some folks who are like, I don't think I'm ready for that step. I just want to see what's out there in the market. And unfortunately, we're not able to accommodate that much, only because the listing agents don't want folks within their clients' homes that don't necessarily have that pre-approval letter.
And rightfully so, right?
So, yeah.
I think that's very valid thought to have.
But I think that we're on the horizon. I mean, I see the rainbow at the end of the tunnel. I think that we're starting to, get to the end of this. We have vaccine, potentially ready for summer. I've already made travel plans. I'm ready for this to be over. But again, I think that there's a lot of positive things that have been implemented during this time that are going to carry forward. And we're here. We're available. We're in the market. We're in the market every single day with our buyers, with our sellers. And again, it's just...
So I have a question for you guys. We've seen a lot in this active market that a lot of buyers are coming in, maybe money coming from the city, or just knowing that they have to be competitive, maybe losing out on 4 or 5 houses before they finally find the one and are willing to give it their all, and maybe are waiving their appraisal contingency. Do you think that appraisers are going to start being more conservative at some point and trying to rein in the market? Do you feel that they already are, or do you think that, the appraisers are just kind of trying to adapt with the times as well? And
That's a really good question.
That's a really good question. I think it's a balance of both. I think that I'm seeing appraisers become more conservative with a couple of homes that we just closed. They did come in a little bit under what we offered. And my clients were willing to come in with the extra money to make up the difference, which that right there tells you that the value of the house to them is what they paid for it. So I am seeing that. I do think that they're adapting, but at the same time, we don't want to get crazy either, right? Like I said, real estate is long-term growth, long-term wealth. It's not a stock market. It's not a huge up and a huge down. It's supposed to be just, small and what do you say, ebbs and flows, right? I like that. And that's kind of how I'm seeing it. And speaking with appraisers, that's kind of how I'm going with it.
No, I agree. And, going back to what we always say, a house is worth what a buyer is willing to pay. So I've definitely seen situations where in appraisal, there might be a short gap and a buyer is willing to bridge that gap and make up the difference, maybe 5, 10. I had, on a listing, I had a buyer that was willing to make it up $20,000. And she actually wrote that with her offer up front, knowing that, hey, I know it's competitive out there. I know this may not appraise, but I want this house so badly that up front, I'm willing to put up an extra $20,000 if it does not appraise. Of course, only up to the purchase price, but it's an incredible time all around. I think it's a very interesting time to be a part of.
It is. Yeah. It's very interesting.
Yeah.
Do we want to move on to this? When we finally take off our masks, what do we look forward to doing first? So I mean, I think the mask thing is kind of the new norm, right? I think that's going to still be. Well, but I mean, when we finally take them off and we've got this pandemic under control,
like in the far future, because I do think it could be another. I hate to say it, but another year or so until we are, completely out of the woods on this.
What I miss the most is like going to Ruth's Chris and like having a fantastic meal with friends and just sitting there with a bunch of people around you and you just hear the chatter in the room. And I miss that, and so I'm looking forward to going out and having some great food, obviously, because I love to eat. Obviously. But I mean, just that breaking bread with people that you love,
coming together, big families. I mean, even for Thanksgiving right now, we're really going to limit our Thanksgiving, but listen, this is short term.
I know.
I'm saving a ton in makeup. I just throw my mask on, honey, and brush my hair and I'm ready to go. But really, this is short term. So as long as we stay safe, we're really safe, with our business practices. Next year are the travels, are the big dinners. We just have a short time to get through this.
Yeah. I know. I think what I miss
sucks
most
now, but
is just being able to pick up and go and do something, right? Because this business is busy no matter what time of year it is, and you don't really get that, downtime or that break. And the summer and this market right now is showing us more than ever that I've been so focused on work that it's really, sometimes you don't realize how much the pandemic might be affecting you and how much, normal life really doesn't exist anymore. But my personality, I'm used to picking up and just going. So if I have a free weekend or even a free, Thursday, Friday or something, I might drive down to Disneyland and go visit Disneyland for a couple of days just to have to break it up and to break up, all the serious work that goes on during the week and to have a little me time or fun time. Yeah. Going to a winery or going to dinner with friends, we do that a lot. And I think that's kind of the differences that we're not really mindful of because we have adapted, but it's affected everybody, no matter how well you're doing or, if you're not doing so well, it's affecting everybody in some way or the other. And there's almost a comfort in knowing that it's not just you. It's kind of a weird
We're all
comfort.
in this together.
We're all in this together, right? And not even just as the United States, as the entire world.
We are doing this
together. So I think it's weird to say comfort. There's a little bit of comfort in that, just knowing that you're not alone. Everybody understands what you're going through. So I think we've all become a little bit more compassionate towards others as well. Sure. A little bit more mindful of, let's be a little easier on people. Maybe we're not going to be so mean to the person who stole our parking space or, just a little more compassion in the world because everybody's going through something right now.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I have kids right now on Zoom for school, trying to take business calls. Yeah. I've got the kids, as soon as I get on the phone, they're in the cupboards. So it's like, it's literally thing one and thing two, and I'm Dr. Seuss trying to manage it all. I'm running out into the garage trying to take phone calls, but people are so understanding. Yeah. Like you said, Jamie, we are all in this together. So I think that there's a lot of positives in this. We're exploring things that we've never done before. Camping, hello. Like, have I ever camped?
You love it. You love it now.
I love it now.
Yeah.
Okay, so Jason and I went on a camping trip one time, and I went, and I'm not really one to sleep in the cold on the ground, but we went, and I think 2:00 in the morning, I was like,
well, this is the thing. I wake up the next morning and I walk out, stretch my arms. I look next to she was in the tent next to me. It's gone. I'm like, where's Katrina? Where's her tent? And I give her a call. She's like, like around 2:00 in the morning. I was so cold. I just got up and literally packed up and came home.
2:00 in the morning. I packed up my tent. I packed up my stuff. I packed up my car and I drove about 2 hours to go home. Yeah. I am like, I worked too hard to sleep in the cold on the ground.
She's like, I'm at the Hilton down the street.
Right.
But this, COVID has kind of opened this world of camping to me.
Now we want to be outdoors.
I love it. We want to be outdoors. We want to explore things that we wouldn't normally otherwise do. So that being said, yes, Cassini Ranch, we had a great time there. I'm looking at campers. I'm looking at trailers.
I'm looking at Airstreams.
Mother Nature.
I know. I am at one with nature. Yeah. So now we're a camping family. Who would have known? Like I said, you always have to look for the silver lining in things. This is one of them. Our families come together. We can't all be in a huge group together anymore, but, I think it brings people closer. pandemic in a strange way has done that, and you realize what you have to look forward to. It's a little bit sweeter when we get there.
Yeah. And I think just kind of some closing statements. We've always been more than just real estate. So, we're friends with our clients, and just remember it's important to check in on your loved ones, check in on your friends, make sure, ask if everybody's okay, because some people aren't. I think some people are not okay right now.
This is really affecting people differently.
It's really affecting people. And again, no matter how well you might be doing, even if you did not lose your job, you didn't get laid off, and you've been working this entire time, you might be experiencing a whole different type of stress.
Totally.
Now you're part of the skeleton crew that's being overworked and overused and exhausted. You're one of the frontline workers who has never experienced more craze in the hospital, right? I mean, they can't even keep up with the demand right now. So just remember to always check on your loved ones, check in on everybody. Not everybody's buying and selling a home right now, and we understand that. We're so much more than, just realtors.
Right.
So I just feel like that's really important to say.
Yep.
No, that's great.
All right.
I had a fun time.
I know.
That was great. Okay, so Love Prisoner, Love Ménage.
I only had two
I'm gonna have another glass of
this
Ménage
time.
right now.
I'm not
I know, we didn't even open the third bottle. Third bottle.
And we're so looking forward to our next one. Right, Greg? I'm contacting you.
We're doing it.
Loft, we're there.
We're really getting into this podcast thing. I think we're going to, take off. And
I think it's going to be great.
yeah, I hope everybody continues to listen.
Super fun.
Well, everybody, over and out. Thanks for chiming in with us, and we'll see you next time.
Signing out.
Bye. Thank you for listening to the Maddox Podcast. Thank you to our producer, Sam Lubman of Painless Podcast, for helping make this podcast possible. We started this podcast so we could share our real estate insights, as well as provide our listeners with a chance to get to know the Maddox team. Our goal is to make our clients' real estate sale or purchase as simple as possible, allowing them to sit back while we handle the hard work. To learn more about what we do or to look up resources about the Bay Area communities, visit our website at maddoxrealestate.com or give us a call at 510-993-0688.